Well, I thought he might have called it a retirement instead of a resignation, but he wrote a very beautiful letter, and it was called resignation. The other letter I'm holding is from me. This one's going to be very hard for me to read. Mary struggled a little bit reading her stuff. You may have seen a few of my tears flow in October when I did Ron's eulogy. I think if Ron was still with us, it probably wouldn't have been possible for me to write this letter. But his passing was one of those things that, when you know, you know. And unfortunately, I know. It's dated today, addressed to the Village of Park Ridge Board. Please accept this letter as notice of my official resignation as Fire Chief for the Village of Park Ridge. Effective end of day, Thursday, June 30th, 2022. I will be completely leaving the department. My nearly 8 years as Fire Chief has been both very rewarding and very challenging. I'm grateful to the village for the opportunity to serve as Fire Chief, and especially thankful for the rewarding experiences it's led to. In fairness to the fire department staff, I'd like to highlight a few of the many accomplishments we've been able to achieve during my time leading the department. I also want to emphasize that none of the accomplishments listed below would have been possible without the dedicated men and women of the fire department. I have about 16 bullet points maybe. Lowering the village ISO rating from a 5 to a 4, leading to a positive economic impact on the village. A nearly 100% increase in roster strength. Leading 2 village declared disasters, 2017 and 2019, and recouping funds for each through the Wisconsin Disaster Fund, lessening the economic impact on the village residences. Received multiple grants from Wisconsin Public Service, Wisconsin DNR, and funds from outside sources. 3 different firefighters, with my guidance, have succeeded in securing multiple different grants. Championed an automatic aid agreement with Stockton Fire Department. Passed the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services audit, which found the fire department to be, quote, in substantial compliance, end quote. Began and continued to manage a point system for firefighter compensation. Started fundraising efforts for the fire department, never done / allowed before. Increased compliance to fire codes, including issuing the first ever citation for violations to codes as allowed by ordinance. Bolstered the department's policies and standard operating procedures. Received the Wisconsin Citation of Commendation from the Wisconsin Legislature and Assembly for various activities as Fire Chief of Park Ridge that I think Dr. Bergen had a hand in. Increased the fire department's visibility with other fire departments and the community by participating in local parades, public education activities, social and traditional media outlets, meetings, increasing training, annual Salvation Army bell ringing, etc. Encouraged and supported staff education through state certifications and advanced training. Expanded my own education throughout my duration as fire chief. Increased other areas fire department's confidence in use of Park Ridge Fire Department for mutual aid assistance, as evident by the number of departments listing us on mutual aid box alarm cards. Those are the accomplishments. The fire department staff and some of the wonderful residents I have had the pleasure of working with are the only reason my resignation has not come sooner. This is a decision I have personally struggled with for over a year. That recall election was the hardest part of me not resigning right then and there. More than 4 years ago, on September 25th, 2017, the Park Ridge Comprehensive Planning Committee wrote a letter to the village board calling out 2 items, both being described as, quote, immediate public safety issue, end quote. To date, Neither item has been addressed, nor am I aware of any plan to address them. In contrast, I have completed every task asked of me by the board, including supporting 2 public hearings, 1 engineering study, 1 referendum, and many other planning tasks, all resulting in 0 improvements to the fire department. I simply cannot and will not continue to work under our current conditions. Ultimately, I am done asking staff to do the same and very possibly put them in harm's way. I feel a notice of more than 4 months is one final gesture I can do to the village and the residents of Partridge. Respectfully, Brian Weber. The time has come. We did a state audit. The board doesn't even know this on Wednesday of this week. And the state auditor is very interested in coming in to look at the fire department. When I described the little space we have around trucks, the no room to do any maintenance inside the bay. Our meeting room is posted for 10 people. So in order to train all of us, we have to break fire code violations. April Hammond's her name. She was rather appalled, but I told her on Wednesday this was coming and things would change. The good thing is, John's gonna be leaving in middle of June. I leave at the end. Just talked about the education. We have people through the officer class. We have people that could take this department over. Whether anybody's gonna want to after they've watched what I've fought for 8 years, I don't know. This may be an opportunity for the board to contract us away. I don't know. The board is not, this letter is in the box at the clerk's office, and tonight, out of fairness to the board, the village president clerk will get an email. Because I'm under direction, I can only email the village president and the clerk, not the entire board, for the chance it encourages somebody to do a reply all violate open meeting laws. I'd like to say if you have any questions, we could chat, but I think it'd be better to do that informally. And I kind of hate ending on such a, what I think is a sad note. I can tell you for my wife, it's a happy note. Just like I mentioned earlier, I'm sure Sue had supported Dr. Bergen under his trying times of leadership. My wife's had to support me under my trying times of leadership. So she's very happy. I'll also tell you, when that recall campaign was successful, I had a hard time not resigning then. In April, when the general election happened, I had my outline written for this letter, but Assistant Chief asked me to stick it out till he could get his 20 years. That's the only reason I'm up here today, doing this today, and this did not come last spring. It's been hard, and to be honest, as Dr. Bergen hinted to, every one of you that put your turnout gear on, that get up all hours of the night to go help a stranger, you deserve better. Nobody in this room would challenge me. You've deserved better for years. Chief Slicer, you can Google the Stevens Point Journal article from 2014. Him and then Village President Tom Glodemans are in that Stevens Point Journal article talking about the need to replace engine 2, talking about the need to update equipment. And Ron didn't start fighting that fight in 2014. He fought that fight way before 2014. Ron wasn't successful. I can hang my helmet saying I've done everything within my power to try to be successful. Never asked for a BMW or a Cadillac fire truck. Would have been more than happy with newer used equipment, because to this day I still believe we don't need a Rolls Royce. We need something I can drive to any one of our 4 big truck dealers in Stevens Point and say, fix it. Not nothing that today we're solely dependent on Chance Olson to fix since Ron passed. If we didn't have Chance, our squad would have been dead 2 or 3 years ago. And if we didn't have Slicer before Chance, the squad probably would have been dead 10, 15 years ago. And you men and women that bust your ass, Like, shame on me for not doing this sooner, almost, but you deserve better. You really do. Everybody does. And the other thing I'll tell you is, I don't know where the board's gonna go, but for you as a firefighter, this isn't the end. One door closes, one door opens. These certifications I talked about tonight, it's the same thing if you're on a department that supports a municipality of 500 or 5,000 people. You're marketable, you're valuable. And you will go places and you will do things. I may not be your chief, but you don't need me to be successful. You know how to do it. Everybody in this room has shown me that over my 8 years. Maybe Grant, you've been around a year, but some people, Colin, Pete, you guys were here, John, before I got here. You were fine before me, you'll be fine after. Not a doubt in my mind. Let's have a drink.